Welcome, YouTube friends and family, to the last adventures of the Wellness Homesteader for 2023. So happy New Year's Eve. It's actually only Thursday here, but you'll be seeing this on Saturday. So what are we going to be doing today? Well, you might notice I finally pulled back out my meal planner because on Monday, you know what starts? That's right, the Three Rivers Challenge. I have some tips and tricks I'm going to be planning along with you, so I hope you'll stay tuned. Well, I hope you all have had a very blessed holiday season, however it is that you celebrate. New Year's Eve, generally, the ball drop watches me. Instead of me watching the ball drop, I'm a very early to bed person. It's been years since I've been up when the new year hits, so that probably won't be happening again this year, but that's okay. So I started thinking, there are probably a few questions that I could answer about the Three Rivers Challenge. I'm not an expert. I highly encourage you, and I will leave the link in the description box to Jessica over at Three Rivers Homestead. It is her brainchild, and I've participated at some level for the last 3 years. I guess this will be my fourth, won't it? Yes, it will. And I did get some questions both in the comments and then privately. So I wanted to answer one thing that seemed to be thematic, and that was, well, my food supply, if you're prepping on some level, is part of my security plan. Should I, have an illness or something becomes unavailable or unaffordable, and I totally agree and understand that. I do not plan on completely emptying everything. So I wanted to make that very clear. However, I am anticipating that I will have a larger garden come spring, so I will be preserving more fruits and veg and other things for consumption during 2024 and what will be 2025's challenge. So I do need to decrease my food supply in an effort not to let things go to waste. So I will be doing some food rotation. I've said I'd like to have 50% of my food gone. And I know that sounds like a lot, but y'all, even I've realized with kind of the change in my dietary habits, with a new diagnosis of early diabetes, I'm not going through food, and especially certain foods, nearly as quickly as I used to, which is a good thing. Less food makes less Kym, but I don't need to keep quite as much on hand. The other consideration is my son used to shop at the store of mom a little more often than he does now. He does some food preservation. He also has a large deep freeze now, so even though he's always welcome to anything he wants, this year he took significantly less, and I'm like, no, because I'd like to get some more shelf space. But anyway, I digress. So that was probably my most robust question. The second thing was, well, what am I going to do if I run out of something? Well, as I had mentioned, I do have a small credit each month from Azure that I can order something for the next month. So there's going to be a delay of about 4 weeks to a month between the time I order it and the order window closes and the time it's actually delivered. So I'm going to have to be very mindful and plan ahead. Am I going to run out of things? I absolutely will. I realized this morning one of the things I do enjoy is the tortillas with egg and sometimes a little bit of meat or a little bit of cheese. I'm not a great meat eater. Kind of a burrito, if you will, especially for breakfast. So what am I going to do when that runs out? Well, I'm going to have to come up with a different vessel to eat that in, for sure. But, and it's not going to last me the whole challenge, guys. I can tell you, I think I have 11 tortillas, and that's it. And when it's gone, it's gone. All right, so changing gears. And if you have more questions, y'all leave them below. If I can't answer, I'll pin the comment, and then maybe other folks. Y'all have great ideas. I learned so much from you. I want to say a special shout out to Miss Victoria because she has given me so many good ideas. She is a woman of great wisdom. And so I've been all stressed out about not getting as much exercise. And she's like, well, when you're doing all your decluttering and deep cleaning, you're going to be getting gobs of exercise. And I'm like, how about that? I didn't think about that. So I really appreciate y'all's feedback. Let me take a little sip here. I'm going to try to get through this without a single hiccup. That would be like nothing short of a miracle. All right. Oh, and before we start, y'all get a lot of questions about my shirts. And I love purchasing from Love and Faith. They have very affordable, very good quality shirts. They are a faith-based company. I have Ask and Ask. Could I have a discount code for my subscribers? You don't even have to send me anything because I have a whole closet full of your stuff. But I thought this was just lovely. Kindness. No, wait. Kind words are like honey. Hard to read upside down in the morning. So it is, they have long sleeve, they have short sleeve, they have V-neck, they have crew neck, and they now have some sweatshirts, which are awesome. You'll be seeing shortly. All right, guys. So you've decided you want to participate in the plan. You've kind of made your own rules. That's great. I'm sorry, the challenge, not the plan. So now what you need to do is you need to have, oh no, I'm going to hiccup, guys. Sorry. A week one plan. And y'all, we have a lot of new subscribers. So new subscribers. I'm taking a medication for diabetes that gives me intermittent hiccups as a side effect. So just excuse me for the whole video. Okay, didn't make it through very far, did I? But I think it's really important to have a plan for week one. So how many of you, maybe in your lifetime or in your younger years, you've made a New Year's resolution or a goal, and you've said, I am going to start dieting January 1. And January 1, you're invited to a New Year's party, and you totally overeat, and you're like, well, I just can't lose weight. And you totally lose sight. Maybe some of us made it to Valentine's Day, and we got our favorite candy for Valentine's Day, and we overeat, and we say, well, I'm a failure. So it is really important starting this challenge to have a plan for week one. And we know, depending on the source you read, it takes 2 or 3 weeks to really establish a habit. Am I normally a good meal planner? Why, no. No, I am not. And y'all know I'm very transparent. I'm actually going to show you in my fridges and such today, and you're going to be like, oh my word, Kym, clean that out. It's not dirty, it's just not terribly organized. Okay. So it's very easy to give up if you fail. What I want to encourage you is, let's say something unexpected happened. A loved one gets hospitalized, you get COVID, or something happens where you can't start. Y'all, there's always tomorrow. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Keep focused on completing as much of the challenge as is reasonable for you and your circumstances. Never going to get any guilt from me. Am I going to do a perfect job for the next 2-3 months? I am not. Just going to tell you that. So there's going to be things that come up. So you may have outings where, maybe you do a family birthday get together, or I'm trying to think of other things that might, maybe you have children or grandchildren or spouse that you need to do a birthday party for, and you need to buy some special ingredients for that. Y'all, that's fine. Put it in your plan. Go on. You can still make great progress on decreasing your food waste, decreasing your waste, like your trash waste, as well as decreasing overages and making good use and being a good steward of your food. All right. So how am I going to plan? Well, let me just show you this. And guys, I can link this. There's nothing magic about it. You can use a piece of paper. I like it because I can stick it to the refrigerator, and it helps me remember that, hey, you can't just eat cheese and crackers every day because you're going to run out of cheese. I might have a tendency to do a lot of that. So instead of just the straight up plan, I actually have 2 columns, or straight up meal plan. I have a prep column, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Over here, I have my As Your Grocery List. And then this one has a notes section. I always try to pick a Bible verse that inspires me and write it there. I usually erase and change it on the weekly. So I've been using these liquid chalk markers for about a year. I'm very sad to say my favorite color, blue, it might be dried up, but I'm gonna work on it. I'm not gonna throw it out quite yet. But it makes it really easy. You just take a paper towel, erase it. If you don't want to spend any money, take a piece of paper and do it, y'all. You do it in your planner. It doesn't have to be like extraordinary. Now, some of you are cooking at home 3 meals a day, especially if you have littles, you're homeschooling, or maybe that's just your lifestyle, or maybe you work away, so you're eating breakfast at home, you have to pack a lunch, and you have to prep a dinner. We'll talk about that a little bit too. So I know this looks like just a dinner plan, but we are going to actually plan. I cook 2 meals a day. I don't cook 3 meals a day, and I'll explain that, but you have to do what works right for your family. So don't forget to also allow for snacks. I think that's a big thing, since my particular eating plan now involves, I'm supposed to have something with protein in it every 4 hours. I begrudgingly give up some of my 1,200 calories for it because it really helps with the nausea side effect of the medication. I have to plan for my protein snacks. All right, enough about me. So how am I going to do this? Well, as we talked in my intro video, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my refrigerators and my inside freezer. I have a deep freeze, but I also have an inside freezer, like a compartment in my regular refrigerator. So I'm going to look at fresh things because many of you may have leftovers from Christmas, from New Year's Eve, from New Year's Day that you can put into your first week's meal plan so that you don't let any of that food go to waste. And it also gives you kind of a jump start or a kick start. I don't have a huge amount of leftovers, but I do have a few. And I plan, because this is only Thursday, the way I look at it, it's probably all going to be gone, and I don't cook anything special for New Year's Eve. So I'm going to have to plan without those benefits. Pardon me. Yeah, y'all, do you get tired of hearing me hiccup? I apologize. I wish there was something I could do about it. You couldn't be any more tired of hearing it than I am of doing it. All right. So the second thing I will do, we're going to take an inventory and we're going to kind of work on a meal plan. I am going to look at what I call freezer number 1. So even though my 1951 Philco has a freezer compartment, there's nothing in there because I use that because my freeze dryer trays fit in there perfectly, and I keep that open so that I can, if I'm going to freeze dry something, I have that space. But I have a bottom freezer inside my kitchen in my regular refrigerator. So I'm going to look at that second after my fresh food. Why? Why not just go to the deep freeze? Isn't a freezer a freezer? Well, actually for me, no, because I don't have an ice maker. I don't have water to my ice maker. So I am in that freezer a lot more opening, closing to get ice for beverages. So that food is at much higher risk than the deep freeze that I might open once or twice a week. So I'm going to go there second because that food is going to get freezer burnt or be less than delicious a lot faster. The next place I'm going to go is my deep freeze to supplement my proteins. So while I do have some protein on the shelf, I know that my canned goods are going to probably outlast my frozen meats in the deep freeze out here. So I'm going to look there. So that will be our second category to look at. Then I'm going to go to, okay, so that might give us like some proteins, maybe some sides, maybe some soups, that type of thing. Then I'm going to go to my home canned and store items. Why both? Generally, a freshly purchased store-bought item is going to have a longer shelf life than home canned food. However, if you're like me and you purchase things from the store that you don't home grow or home can or home preserve by buying from a different source fresh, those canned goods can really tend to expire on you quickly. When I buy something from the store, I take a Sharpie and write on the top. I will wholly confess that I will always pick my home canned over my store-bought if I've home canned it, because to me it tastes better. So that is a habit that I'm gonna have to kind of undo, because y'all are gonna laugh at this. When my son came home, my son is like the expiration date police. So he gets in the fridge to get something and he was like, "Really, Mom? You have ponzu?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's like an Asian cooking sauce." And he's like, "Mom, do you see the expiration date of 2015? That's 5 years. I don't think it's good anymore." So I can have a tendency to look at things and be like, "Okay, ponzu, when next time I cook Asian, I'll use that," which isn't very often, and not actually check those expiration dates. So that for me is not being the best steward of my food. There was only like this much, but he didn't give me an option. It went in the trash. All right. So we've already said about planning for 3 meal snacks as needed, but what we haven't talked about is what if you have away days. So some of you work 5 days a week. Some of you may work more days a week. And it is very easy. As a retired person, I can tell you this, to want to just grab a sandwich at lunch, go through the drive-thru, not take the time to pack lunch. What I would encourage you to do, and what worked well for me, because number one, I'm not a big fan of fast food. Number two, it was quite expensive. Number three, I thought it was quite unhealthy. I did more freezer meals. So what I would do was cook, instead of a serving of lasagna, I would cook 2 pans, or instead of 1 pan, I would cook 2. And then I would chop it up, into pieces and add some green beans or peas or spinach or whatsoever. And then I would freeze it in little to-go containers. Then that morning, as I was leaving for work, I could grab a container, stick it in there. It was usually thawed by lunch, and then I could just heat it up and go. But what if you're normally an at-home person, you're not used to being away a lot? Guys, I don't go away a lot. I go away with my friends some, but or family visit. I'm home most of the time. But there are days where I'm going to be gone like the majority of the day if I'm helping someone do something, if I'm visiting with family members that live a distance. That's when you want to plan your crock pot meals, your instant pot meals, things that can be ready when you get home, so you don't come home so hungry that you're ready to eat your arm off. Ask me how I know. And you decide just to go through a drive-through on your way home. So I'm going to just take a pause, take a drink, stand up for a minute. Y'all, my back is much better, but I'm still having trouble sitting for long periods. And we're going to talk about what's the difference between a meal plan and a prep plan. I hope you'll stay tuned. All right, I need to get a sweater. It's a little chilly in here. So what's the difference between the meal plan and the prep plan? So think about an evening where you need to make dinner and you're kind of pressed for time. What are you most likely going to do if you're not, eating out at a restaurant or doing takeout? You're going to go for either the familiar or the easy. So for me, that might mean, well, let me just open a jar of pre-made soup that I've home canned, or let me just do cheese and crackers. So you're not really being mindful, number one, of nutrition for me, but number two, you're not being mindful of how you're using your food. I will tell you all from experience, and one of the reasons why I've never gone past a month on the pantry challenge is because I did too much of that, the easy and the familiar, because I didn't meal plan. I didn't plan the prep. No, I'm sorry. I didn't plan for meal prep. Blah, blah, blah. I'll get that out. So what does that look like? Guys, it's not hard. It's things like thawing out meat. So does it take a day in your fridge? Does it take 2 days in your fridge? Depending on the size of the piece of meat, the type of meat. You need to plan that ahead. So let's just say it's Monday, first day of the pantry challenge, and Tuesday I want to have chicken thighs. Well, I better be thawing those out on Monday or Tuesday for dinner. I'm not gonna be having any chicken thighs. So thinking ahead, look at the next day or two and think ahead. What steps do I need to take? Not only does it decrease the chaos, it prevents me from eating cheese and crackers. All right, another thing. I have a lot of dried beans on hand. Now I do have a lot of canned beans as well, but not every bean that I like to eat, i.e. garbanzo beans or chickpeas, do I have canned. So I'm gonna have to soak those, and I'm gonna have to soak them overnight. And if I don't soak them overnight, my option is eat something else or flip-flop 2 days if there was no preparation that needed to be done in order for me to flip-flop those 2 days. Another example, maybe you're going to make chicken and rice on Monday, and you're going to use that leftover rice in some burritos on Tuesday. So maybe your prep is cook extra for the Monday meal so that you will have it for Tuesday or Wednesday or however your meal plan kind of comes out. Another idea. Are you almost out of bread? I don't buy store bread very often, but I do sometimes. Most of my bread I make, if you've all seen, I have a huge bread playlist. Wow, I can't speak today. One of the things I'm really bad about and not diligent about, guys, I have buckets of hard red and soft white wheat and all of the grains that I need to make Ezekiel bread. I have not one, but 2 grain mills, just saying. I'm just like, I don't want to drag out the grain mill. I don't want to do this or that. I'll just use my pre-ground flour supply. Guys, if I do that, I'm not going to have any bread by the end of the 3 months is what I'm hoping for. But let's just say end of the challenge, I'm not going to have that. I'm going to be resigned to absolutely, positively, if you want bread, you're going to have to grind grain. So I want to save that pre-ground flour because it's in gamma sealed buckets. I'm not worried about freshness from a freshness standpoint, but I want to save it for those times maybe I don't feel well. Maybe I sleep wrong and my back hurts. I'm still puzzled about that, guys. So I need to not do the familiar. I need to do the extra steps. Another idea, broth. Now, y'all, I have scads of broth. However, as I'm working to decrease what is in my freezer, I might have some bones or carcasses or things that I want to use to make broth out of. If I'm using the broth on the shelf, I'm gonna have to replace it because I don't grow broth or I don't grow broth ingredients. And I save peels and such for the, like carrots and onions and things to flavor it with. So as I'm depleting a supply and I want to empty my freezer out and preserve the freshness of whatever I'm going to be making the broth from, I'm going to need to cycle that through. So those are the planning steps I think that will make me more successful and me more able to do this long term. So it does prevent you from defaulting, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my talking notes, from easy, convenient, the store, or restaurant. My last point before we start looking at the shameful refrigerators, etc., is explore new recipes if you have plentiful items on hand. Y'all, I do still have a lot of pumpkin. I still have 2 pumpkins I haven't processed, and I have a lot in the freezer. I'm not going to necessarily make a whole pumpkin pie for myself. So what else can I make from pureed pumpkin? Do I need to pull out my pasta machine, which I do have, and make some pumpkin or butternut squash? I have butternut squash too, ravioli. Do I need to explore how to make a pasta sauce using those ingredients? So it gives us an opportunity to stretch, to grow, to use what we have, maybe in a little bit different or unconventional way, and it may become a new family favorite. All right, guys, thought I could make it without hiccuping. I can't. Let's go take a look at the fridge. If y'all came here to snark on my fridge, please don't. Like I said, it's not dirty, but I have a very, very small refrigerator, so y'all are going to see me play a little bit of Jenga. All right, here we go. One of you sweet people said, if the fridge was any taller, I'd need a ladder. And you are exactly right. So the reason that my refrigerator is small, and I don't know if y'all can even see it is small, has to do, let me take this back. See the trim piece on my cabinets? It is one continuous piece. So I would have to have all that removed and reconfigured, because I actually had to take, yes, and I did, a Sawzall to trim a little bit off of this cabinet for any refrigerator to fit underneath it. So the next refrigerator I buy, I will probably change configuration. I wanted the freezer on the bottom. They're more energy efficient. I will either go with a side-by-side or a freezer on the top. All right. Y'all ready to look? But I think this will be helpful. So here we go. And I know I have a lot of condiments, y'all. I know that. So what am I looking for when I start to look here? Well, I'm looking for two things. I'm looking for, three things. Breakfast, dinner, and then I'm looking for my in-between snacks. I eat 2 main meals a day and then the snacks. So let's just start with what's kind of urgent, need to be used. Well, I have here some Greek yogurt, and I've been using my home canned fruit as a little topping for it. So this will be on the breakfast menu as an option. I also have some cottage cheese that definitely needs to be used, and that can be eaten for me either with fruit or savory, like with tomatoes or things like that. I don't happen to have any tomatoes fresh. So those are two things. Now, I don't drink cow's milk, but I do use it to make yogurt. So I have about a half a gallon left from Christmas, so I need to make some yogurt. I do have sour cream. That should be fine. I have some grapefruit juice that I can work into my breakfast. I have eggs and continued eggs for sure. So those are some things. I'm not too worried about the eggs because they are firm fresh, but I need to keep that in mind. Down here in my bins, I only have onions, my diabetes medication, and I do have apples. And these are Granny Smith's. I have apples in the other fridge too. So I'm going to be looking for what can I make that is approved on my diet with these apples, so I don't let those spoil, and they don't have to be used week 1. Down here tip you down, in my cheese and meat drawer, what do I have? Well, I have my 11 tortillas, and I have all the cheese. So my son smokes cheese, and he brought me hickory smoked cheese, hickory smoked pepper jack. I still have some Parmesan left. I also have hickory smoked sharp cheddar. Did I say that once? No, I didn't. I have a little bit of bacon and a little bit of sausage. So these are items like the bacon I could do for breakfast, or a sandwich even. And I need to find a use for the sausage because I thought it out. The condiments, and guys, these are all my home canned condiments. Yeah, and like fermented thing. Oh, you can't see what I'm pointing to. Y'all, I do have a lot of condiments, but I use a lot. So I'll just be working through those. I have more in my long-term pantry. All right. Now, y'all remember, I said no judgment. I don't even want to open this, but I'm going to. So let me tip you down. So I have ice. These are actually ice. So if you want to ice your knee or whatever, you can do that. So I have a little heavy whipping cream. In desperation, I can thin this with some of that cow's milk if I don't use it for yogurt, and use it for coffee creamer or tea creamer. I do have some Tyson fully cooked and breaded chicken patties to do in the air fryer. I have the fries left over from the meatloaf that I made. So these two could kind of go together with the veg. I have some white chicken chili. I have just yogurt starter yeast, that type of stuff. So these probably need to be on the menu at least once this week. I told you it was full, guys. And down below, what do I have? Well, I have like all my peels and such for broth. I have a stuffed pepper soup. I have some black bean or spicy bean burger. I have mixed, all kinds of mixed veg. For some reason, I have a container of orange juice. This was probably for a recipe. I have a graham cracker crust that probably we can divest ourselves of. Hate wasting. I have some breadcrumbs. Those will be fine. I have some frozen plums. I have, why does that say sugar? I don't think that's sugar. I can't read my own handwriting. Well, okay, here's an example relabel. It does say sugar, guys. This is a broth that didn't seal. It's a bone broth, or that, no, I didn't process. Guys, look, I have all kinds of blueberries to eat. And I have one emergency pot pie, some rice cauliflower. So I've got a lot of veg in here. There's some green peppers that I need to get through. So as I sit down to plan out what I'm going to eat, I know exactly what we have in here. Now the Philco is not nearly as full, so this will be pretty easy. I do have some almond milk, some butter, hot sauce, energy butter, pickles. Those things totally fine to be used over the next month or two. Well, not the milk. I do have some homemade bread. I have some Dave's Killer bread. I have my fruitcake. This will be gone. It's just some Christmas leftovers. And then down at the bottom, this was from the church meal on Christmas. So that will be today's lunch. And then in the bottom, I do have some grapefruit and some apples. So that could be a good snack with some nut butter for my little protein snack. So I'm not so worried about what's in here. I think I can easily use that. I'm a little more worried about freezer number 1. So I've showed you all freezer number 2. I'm not going to trouble you to watch that again. But let's pop into my long-term pantry because I want to show you a couple things that I noticed as I started thinking about planning for week 1 of the 3 Rivers Challenge. Stay tuned just a few minutes longer. All right, y'all. So we're in the long-term pantry. It's chilly in here. I was thinking about, whoops, I eat a lot of chickpeas or garbanzo beans, and I like to buy the organic ones in bulk from Azure. And I had just topped off my jar with a fresh bag. In fact, it wouldn't all fit. Let me just show you all what they look like. So I absolutely love them. I cook them spicy, just sort of as a stir fry. That's what I like, and I do better with that sometimes than meat. But I'm like, well, you know, I think I still have canned chickpeas. Well, I do. As a matter of fact, I have mystery canned garbanzo beans. So this particular manufacturer, Michigan-made brand, did not put a date. Guys, I have searched and searched and searched. So I was like, well, let me pull up another. The Dio Franco It's also a mystery can. And I know I've had these for a bit. So they're actually in the front of my can dispenser. And then I found one more can that expired in February. So which am I going to use first? Well, I'm going to use the mystery cans. And guys, if they don't seem right, I wouldn't eat them. And these will be just fine. I'm not terribly worried about them being, you know, a year out of date. I don't have nearly as many store-purchased cans anymore. I just don't find the need to buy them. So kind of what I have are things that I don't necessarily grow. I don't grow chickpeas. I don't grow black beans. I don't grow kidney beans. I don't like growing peas. But I might have like a dozen more cans of chickpeas over there. So chickpeas are going to be on the menu every single week. Not a problem for me. Love them. Love to cook a whole bunch. They're great with rice. They're great on a tortilla, which I'm going to run out of. The other thing I noticed, here's my AP flour, my bread flour, and pre-ground cornmeal. In addition, I have soft white, hard red, and yellow corn to grind into cornmeal. I always go for the pre-ground because it's easier. I need to stop doing that. So those are the type things that I really encourage you to focus on through these upcoming weeks of the pantry challenge if you're wanting to decrease some of your expendable, we'll say, or nearing the end of its freshness date items. I hope you'll stay tuned for just a couple more minutes for some final thoughts. I hope you found today's video helpful, giving you some ideas about how you might go about planning for week 1 of the Three Rivers Challenge. Drop me a comment below. Have you finished your meal plan for week 1? And is there anything important that I didn't mention that you think would be helpful to others? I love reading all your comments and sharing your tricks and tips. I'm going to go untangle my tongue. I plan to see you all next week. I will not be doing like a daily video of what I ate because y'all would get so bored because I do kind of have a monotonous diet at times. I did not mention for my snacks, my son also smoked a whole bunch of different types of nuts like almonds, cashews, things that I like. So I have those as well for my protein snacks, so I won't just be eating cheese. Although cheese good, right? And I love smoked cheese. It's very, very good. Great on a sandwich too. I look forward to seeing you next week. But until then, don't forget, smash that like button and be healthy, be well, be blessed, and take care.